Hi, this is Jamie Magrich coming to you from my craft table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. It's not difficult, it's just a few pieces. Let me pan down and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. I do want to show you how I made this card. Again, my name is Jamie Magrich. Welcome to my craft table. It's a pretty simple card, really. It does take a little bit of die cutting, but so let's get started. What you're going to need for paper, you have a piece of the Whisper White, which is 2 3/4 by 4 inches, that we're going to use to cut out this lace piece here, this table part. We have a piece of scrap Whisper White, because we need to stamp off to get a lighter color. We have a piece of Whisper White, which is going to be 4 3/8 by 5 3/8, I believe. And then a piece of Pacific Point that's just like a 1/16 of an inch larger. I do need to cut down one of these white pieces, so I want to wait until after I stamp it though, because then if the edge doesn't come out neatly. And then we have a card base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. We're going to be using the Tea Time Together bundle. It's actually not a bundle. You get the Tea Time Together stamp set from the Occasions catalog, and the Tea Time framelits is an option that you can receive free from the celebration. We're going to be using this die here from the Delicate Lace Edgelits and the Crackle Paint background stamp, which is also in the Occasions catalog. Okay, so let's get started. We will need Pacific Point ink pad, Memento ink pad, glue dot, Tombow Mono glue, some blends to color in the flowers in the teapot, and I have the combo of the lovely lipstick. I have dark Mossy Meadow and light Granny Apple Green. I have light Mango Melody. I have the bronze, a blender pen or color lifter, and the light Smoky Slate, and a Wink of Stella. Also, you're going to need a Post-it note. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do, a lot of the die cutting I've done in advance just so that you can, to save a little time. The first thing that you're going to do is take the 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece of Whisper White, and you're going to place this die so that the scallops are centered pretty much, and that they're just to the edge here. And then you're going to run it through your Big Shot. Your sandwich is going to be your Big Shot platform, your thin die adapter, a cutting plate, the paper, the die, another cutting plate, and run it through your machine. And for the sake of the time, I've already done that. Okay, so there's that piece. Just put out away so I don't lose it. Okay, now we're going to stamp our background. So we're going to, I've got a big pile of mess here. We're going to take this piece we've already used, because we're going to use that first, and one of these layering pieces. We're going to bring in our background stamp. Now I don't I have it attached to my case. I don't even take it out of there. I just stamped it right in there. And we're going to take the Pacific Point ink pad. Make sure I'm in frame here. I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to ink pretty much the whole thing. Make sure it's inked up well. And we're going to take, you can use it for another project, but we're going to use one of these pieces. I was going to just use this again, but I think I'll just do another one. And I'm going to kind of fold it a little bit, get one part to touch down and lay the other sides down. Then we're going to bring in a piece of scratch paper, place it over the top, and rub it really well. This is the first generation ink. It's a little bit darker than I want it to be. I'm bringing in something to lift it up with so I don't get ink all over my fingers. See how it's dark? Okay, so now we're going to bring in another piece. We're going to do the same thing. Arch it, lay it down. Put this over the top and rub it. And the reason I didn't cut it perfectly to size is because you might get a little bit around the edge that's a little bit dark still, depending on where you set it down, because you might not get it in exactly the same spot that you got the first piece. But that's pretty good. And then, like, this edge didn't go at all, so we can trim it down to the size we need it to be. I'm just going to get my... Just going to do that so it doesn't get all over the front of my case. Alrighty. And I'm going to put you on pause. I'm going to go ahead and trim this down to the size I need. Okay, I'm back. You can see that it's just a hair, like a 1/16 of an inch, if that, smaller than this Pacific Point layer. And this is just a hair smaller than our card front. Okay, so it's I'll put it down here so you can see, like 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Okay. All right. So that's our background piece. This piece here is going to get glued on the front of there. It's a little bit longer than it needs to be, so let's glue it down and trim off the edges. I'm just using the Tombow Mono. Just be careful not to get too much glue into the lacy part. You don't want it to stick out. Just little tiny dabs. Alright, glue it down here towards the bottom. Almost to the bottom of the card. See, there's just that little tiny bit there left. We'll get it where we want it. Turn it over and trim it off. Fuzzy thing too. I can without ruining my card. I really need a new blade for my trimmer. I have one, but I keep forgetting to change it. Alright, then this is going to go on top of this Pacific Point piece. Might as well go ahead and do that now. And again, there's just like a 1/16 of an inch edge around it. I mean, like almost nothing. Okay. Put that aside. Okay, now we're going to bring in... Oh, I needed that other piece to stamp this stuff on, didn't I? Let's get out another one. Alright. I'm going to stamp with the Memento ink the teapot. This is a fairly large one, so I like to put the stamp on the table and ink on the top of it. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and stamp this. And we're going to bring in our Post-it note, and I need it for this thing here, so I'm just going to take the pad, put it upside down on the handle, and push it down. Okay, and that's all I need for that. And I'm going to take the Post-it note off the pad, and I'm going to cut around this curve here, that curve there, because I need a mask so that when I stamp the flower on the teapot, it doesn't stamp outside of the teapot. And I'm going to use both pieces. This piece goes here. To mask that area. And then later on I'm going to use this piece as well. Okay, so we're going to bring in the rose. This one here. I'm going to ink it up. Make sure it's good and inked. And we're going to stamp it. We want to try to get all of those 4 leaves and the rose within the pot itself without going outside of the pot. So go ahead and stamp it. Perfect. Okay, then we're going to take the little leaf. I'm going to put this over here because we need to mask a little bit more over there. We're going to add a couple leaves over here coming off the teapot so it looks like it's wrapping around it. And it's alright if they don't touch the pot. Be careful not to stamp off the other side of it. Okay, then we're going to put this mask over this flower. Just doesn't have to match perfectly, but just covering up the rose, because then we're going to take the bud one, this one. Oh, you can't see it. There we go. We're going to stamp this 3 times. Once coming out of the top right here, or we're just going to stamp it twice because there's 2 buds on there. So there's 2 of the buds. We're going to ink it again, and we're just going to try and get just the 1 bud down here. Okay, perfect. Alright, so that's the stamping for the teapot. Now we're going to take this flower. Oh, you can't see it. There's a shadow. There we go. We're going to stamp that 5 times. Okay, and then we're going to bring back in that leaf. We're going to stamp that 5 times. There's dies for all of these, so... Okay, cover up my ink because we're done with that. And let me show you how I colored this. I'm not going to color all of them because I've already done it, but I do want to show you how I did it. Okay, So let's start with one of these flowers. I'm going to take the color lifter, the lovely lipstick, and the light mango melody. First I'm going to color the center, the mango melody. I'm going to go ahead and do that on all of them. Okay, we're totally done with that color, unless we want to add some to the leaves. Okay, then I took the color lifter and I just swirled within each petal with the color lifter to add a little bit of this in there. Then I took the darker and I flicked it from the center out towards the edge. And I do find with myself it's easier for me to flick away from myself. So you find which way is most comfortable for you. Some people might find it's easier to flick sideways or towards themselves. I have to flick away from myself. Okay, then we're going to take the lighter one. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing. Going out just a little bit farther. You don't want to go the whole, you want to leave a little bit of the white on the edge. This one doesn't have to be quite as flicked, but you want to leave some of the white. Okay, then I went back to the color lifter, and at this end here I just blended just a little bit. You could also use that tip-to-tip technique I showed in my last video. Okay, and then for the leaves, it's mostly the light granny apple. You could use the light and dark granny apple, that would be fine. I just grabbed a light green and a dark green. So I colored them with the granny apple. And I took the little tip of the dark mossy meadow, and I just added just a tiniest little bit of the dark and went back in with the light just on the one side. So it gives the one side just a little bit of a darkness. So that's how I did those. And see how it's blending out of the lines a little bit? That's because it's oversaturated with the color lifter. It just looks like a shadow, so it's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so then with these leaves, I did the same thing. I just colored them with the light green. And I went in with the dark green and added just a little bit in the center, like right where that line is. I hope you can see through my hand. And then I took the lighter green and blended it out into one side. Or, you know, so it just looks like a leaf. Just blended it out a little bit. Okay, we're going to go do the same thing for the leaves in here, in the rows. This part of the rose. Okay, then we're going to take the dark one. We're going to add just a little bit on those. You don't need much. I didn't really put a whole lot on there, just where it would shadow. And I took the lighter one. You're probably better off doing one petal at a time, because it would blend a little bit better. Okay, so we're done with the green, and we're going to come in with the pink, and we're going to use the dark one, and it doesn't really matter which end you use, and anywhere where it's going to be the darkest, like where the creases of the petals would overlap, or like underneath the petals, I'm going to put a little bit of this darkness. And again, you can use that flicking, you know, so it has a little bit of the flicking texture. It adds a little texture. You don't need much. Okay. A little over here. Okay, then I went in with this lighter one. I flicked out a little bit farther. It blends it out. Left a little bit of white. Some of these don't have any dark, but they're going to have the lighter pink. But leave the white at the edge. The center I just colored white, or with the light. And the small buds I just basically colored with the light pink. And my trimmer is pretty bad today. I had trouble coloring these. Okay, then I took the blender pen, and again I went around the edge here with the blender pen. It softens that up, it pulls out a little bit of the pink. I prefer this other end. I find it blends better. Puts more down, but it also has a tendency to bleed out, so you do want to be careful. But I just used it to my advantage and used it to be the shadow. Add a little bit of blender pen to the top of this. Okay, that's my rose. Okay, then for the teapot, I took the dark pink, and I colored this little knob at the top of the teapot. I left the top open. I colored the inside of the, where the teapot would be on the inside of this top lip. And inside the little nozzle there. Then I did a strip down here at the bottom. Okay, then I took the bronze and I did the little top knob here and a little line around the top of the teapot here. Now on my original one I did color the top, whole top with the bronze, and I felt it was a little distracting, so this one I chose not to. And then I did some on the handle. I didn't color the whole handle in, just some of it. And a stripe down here at the bottom, and a stripe around the top of the teapot. Okay, then this is the neat part. You take your Wink of Stella and you color over that bronze, and it makes it look like gold, like an antiqued gold. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but I need a new Wink of Stella. It's getting empty. Okay, you'll have to try it in real life because it actually makes it look metallic. Okay, then we're going to take it to our Big Shot and we're going to cut it out. There is a framelit for it. I've already done it for the sake of time. I've cut them all out, so I've got all the little pieces here. Okay, so now we're going to bring over our card. We're going to put some dimensionals on the back of our teapot. Alright, I'm going to use the small ones for the spout and the handle. Alright, take those backs off. So where sometimes the hardest part of your whole project is getting these backs off the dimensionals. Okay, we're going to put that up here. This is going to be like the tablecloth on a shelf, so it's a decorative piece. I'm going to put it like centered within this strip here, up towards the top. Okay, then we're going to take our flowers and arrange them. I want to put a few down here like that. I want a couple up here. This looks like they're scattered on the tablecloth. Then I'm going to add some of those leaves in. Three. Okay, where's my other leaf? I have to cut one out by hand. I'm missing one. I'll just cut one by hand real fast. Should have 5 leaves. I like to have things in odd numbers. For some reason it's more pleasing to the eye and it helps you to carry your eye around the page. Okay, so like that. Those leaves will be tucked in there. Put some dimensionals on these. There's only one of them that's going to be flat on the card, and that's this one here. It has to be completely on the card though, so let's glue that one down first. A little tiny bit of Tombow on the back. Tuck it in, make sure it's on the card. Don't really want it hanging off. Okay, and then we'll put the dimensionals on the back of all these other ones. This one will go here. Okay. This one will go here. Put these 2 little leaves down. I'm going to wait on the leaves because I want to put in some of those wood elements. And I want the leaves to kind of go on top of them a little bit. Okay, then I've got a couple wood elements. I want to put one of the bigger ones down here. I want to tuck it in here. I'm just going to glue it down with the Tombow. Leaves. A little one here. And then another one up here. Leaves. I'm all thumbs today again. It's got to be because I'm filming. Add just a tiny little bit of glue dot on the back of the wood element. Tuck it into place. And these, we're just going to add a little glue on the back. Or on the bottom of it. Tuck them into place. I put a little on the front and the back, that way I know they're gonna stick to something. Okay, then we're going to adhere this to the front of our card. Again, there's just a tiniest little border. Alright. And there's our card. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm going to adhere the little butterfly. Just a little tiny bit of glue. Stick the butterfly on. Well, there's our card. You can embellish this inside by stamping the little flower, like 3 little flowers on the inside. Or you can cut some extra and adhere those to the inside. Like however you want. Well, thank you so much for joining me at my craft table today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Here's the card we just created. And here's the one I created prior to. And you'll see how the, I don't know if you can see the shimmer, but it actually looks like metal. There you go, you can see it now. Okay, well thank you. Have a great day, and I hope to see you at my table again soon.